Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender, um, games published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Basta. I had a request to try to do the Soviet versus West scenario, so I'm going to be attempting to do that here. This is the Soviet onslaught in the summer of July 1945. I'm Dren608, and we will get right to it here. Make sure I don't have any sticky markers here real quick. It looks like everything is... Every once in a while when I load up a saved game like this, it messes with me. I'm going to be commenting on a vlog, so we will just be playing through the vlog of this turn that I've already done. And hopefully I will be coherent while I'm doing so. And so, now this is something I'm not really sure about. I'm not sure if the West gets a strategic move or not. Sal, correct me if I'm wrong. I played it that basically in the operations phase, the West is allowed to have all their guys be in supply, and then we start with the Soviet operations. So I didn't do strategic movement for either side. That could be incorrect, but that's how I played it. I made that decision before I started. So I'm going to get right up to the Soviet operations phase. First thing the Soviets are going to do here is they're going to go with this airplane down in Yugoslavia, I guess it is. And they go after the airplane in Munich. They roll a 6. Americans get a 3 plus 1 is a 4, which is usually pretty good. However, that does give me a 2 for 1. So Americans take 2 sorties, I take 1. So now we're both at -1. So I go ahead and do it again. 4 minus 1 is a 3. And, of course, the Western Allies oblige me by rolling a 1. So I get another 2 for 1. I'm doing really good here. So the attacker's now at -2, and defenders are at -3. So I figure, what the heck, I'll do it again. Then I roll a 6. -2 is a 4. And a 2 minus 3 comes out to being a net 1. So for 3 sorties, I managed to get 6 sorties on the American airplane. So things went really well in that air combat. Then I went up to Berlin and said, geez, can we do this again against the 9th Air Force, sitting there in the mountains in the center of Germany. And so I'm at a 0, and he's at a +1. And I roll a 1. He rolls a 4 plus 1 is a 5, so it's a 2 for 1 the other way. The Russians take 2, and the Americans take 1. So then I go and I change up here. This is when you're fighting air forces that have better modifiers than you, this is the only way you can really try to have a chance of pulling anything off. Since I'm at -2 with that airplane, I choose not to use it again, and I use a different airplane that has a 0 modifier. So now we're 0 to 0. And I rolled a 2, and he rolled a 4. So I got another 2 for 1 against me. And now the Americans are at a -1, and I switch out and go back up to the last airplane that has 0 on it. Rolled another 2, and he rolled a 5 minus 1, which is a 4. So that was incorrect. Okay. And I place the Soviet attack marker, surprise attack marker, and then I place a partisans on the First Army. Take off my production points. And I activate the Shock Army and the Panzer, or the Guards Army that's underneath that airplane. Set some assault markers. So then I go through and I try to add up what it is. Normally the Americans would be a +3 and then -2 for the partisans. +1, the tank is the primary. +1 because he's elite. +2 because he's armor. +2 more for the Shock Army. And then it was +1 for the surprise attack marker and then -1 for the river. And then I threw in my heavy artillery and an airplane. So I get to another +2 for the artillery and +2 for the airplane. So I end up with a net of +9 to +1. Roll fairly well, get a 14 total. And the Americans oblige me by rolling a 1, which, if you look, 14 to a 2 is a DE. Pop up the combat results table. 14's up here. To 2 is a DE. So, good lucky split there for the Soviets. Flip them over and move them to the eliminated box. They lose a will point for that, so they're down to 19. And I go ahead and take the hex with the Guards Tank Army, because it doesn't really matter. Get the assault markers off the board. And then I spend 2, and I'm going to activate this armored unit that's next to the 9th, just northeast of Leipzig, southwest of Berlin. And he goes 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. And he attacks Patton. And because of where he moved and how things worked out, amazingly enough, he is isolated. So he starts off at 3. And I go reset the... That was 1 for elite, 2 for armor, 2 for being a surprise at being isolated, +1 for the surprise attack marker. And then I added a sortie for another airplane. And then I get 2 more for that, and then I have to subtract 1 because he's in the mountains. So it's a +7 to a +3. Rolled well again, another 5. +7 makes it 12. And he managed to roll a 1. And if you look, a 12 to a net 4, 12 to a 4 is a DD. So, since he has nowhere to retreat, first he's reduced, and then he can't retreat, so he is removed. And wills go down another 1, so he's lost 2 will points. And I did that with 5 movement points. So now I had, 5 movement points left. So I moved 1 to here and attacked that first task force army. And then he goes ahead and throws his tanks marker. And I didn't have a lot I could do. I was +3 and then +1 for the surprise attack, threw in another airplane, got up to 6, and then down 1 for the mountains. Rolled a 9, and he rolled a 3 + 3 is a 6, which is just enough to retreat him. And then I had some stuff here where I had some problems trying to figure out where. You see me moving the airplane instead of the infantry. And then I realized I hadn't rolled for my artillery when I was moving those around, so I went ahead and rolled that right away. It comes back in a turn. And it took me a little while to try and get things to figure out where I wanted to retreat. I was trying to get things to stack up there. And I did end up deciding that instead of retreating into clear terrain, where he could bring something down and start attacking me at like +3 to +1s, I went ahead and threw myself in the mountains, hoping that I could hold the line, so to speak. And here I am moving this infantry unit. Just basically spends a whole bunch of movement points to just move to right there. And that's so that the isolation for the 7th Army will be established, which is going to be my next target. And then this guy runs around, I believe, on the rail lines. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it's 8, 9, 10 to attack across the river. I checked to make sure that he didn't have anything else in his hex, which he didn't. So I came back down. I'm 1 because I'm elite. I got 2 because he's isolated. -1 for the river. And I believe I played my tanks marker here. I got 2 more. So that's +4 net to his +3. I managed to roll all of a 6, and he rolled an 8. What I forgot to do was add a surprise attack marker, but it wouldn't have made a difference. 7 to an 8, 6 to an 8, same thing. So that goes back on the turn track. Then I moved up this guards unit to here. And this time I threw in started to throw a tanks marker in, but realized that with the surprise attack marker I was actually at +4, because it's 1 for elite, 2 for isolation, that's 3, 4, 5 from the airplane, and 6 for the surprise attack marker, so that made me a +5 to a +3, and I wanted to save that tanks marker for later, so I took it back off. I still had 3 movement points left when I did this. I went back and I counted again. 2 for isolation, 2 for the 1 for the surprise attack marker, -1 for the river, and +2 for the airplane. So I was right. So rolled a 5 and a 3. So a 3 plus 5 is an 8. Not great. And the Allies managed to roll another 1. They're giving me great splits here. He can't retreat, so therefore he's flipped. That means I attack him with my last 3 movement points, and I will throw in another airplane. The airplane in the south there. You get a 2 plus 5 is a 7. And he managed to roll another 1. So I eliminated a 3rd unit, which since I've played this, I've actually gone back and I've played through this scenario time and time and time again, and I invariably get these 3 units almost every time. The variable is whether the task force here survives or not. But I almost always, I always get these 3, and then I either get, sometimes I get the 1st French Army, sometimes I get the task force, but I invariably get those 3. So I don't know if this is the best strategy for the Russians, but it seems to kind of cause a major breakthrough. Takes away a lot of defensive terrain from the Western faction. Now I want to activate this Guards Army. Goes 1, 2 across the river, 3, 4 down the rail line, and then 5, 6, 7 to attack the French, 1st French in Munich. And I start off at 1 for elite, +2 for armor, +1 for surprise attack, -1 for the city. Then I set them to a 3. Then I go ahead and throw another airplane. Get to 2. And then I rolled a 6, so 6 plus 5 is an 11. He rolls a 4, which is a 7. It's forced retreat. And I was trying to figure out where's the best place for the Frenchman to go. If he goes down here to the south, like I show right there, I would leave a corridor somewhat open here in the middle that something might be able to run through and get to Stuttgart. So I decided instead to retreat to there, even though he could attack me, but I'm outside the surprise attack marker range there. So my thought was I'm trying to back up on Stuttgart and I'll rail something into northern Italy. I had to leave a hole somewhere, and I wasn't sure what the best hole was. So I chose to do that. I started to take the hex, and then realized I had 3 movement points that I had a better move. So I took that off. Said, no, I'm not going to take the hex yet. Instead, I'm going to move the armored unit 1, 2, and 3. And this will become apparent here in just a moment as to why that's a better move. And then this armored unit, 1, I think I did a real quick count there. I was clicking on things, make sure I had spent the right amount of points. Oh, I'm doing backs. I'm such a dummy. Anyway, this armored unit starts coming back down. So that was 1, 2, 3. And then I thought better of it. Oh, I keep going back again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Took the Leipzig. And then I get to attack the 5th Task Force, who is surrounded. I get 2 will points for the Leipzig. I didn't add these to the Russians like I'm supposed to. And then I spent all my movement points to attack the task force. Throw in an airplane so that I'm 1 for elite. 2 for armor. 2 for air. 1 for surprise attack. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. And 2 for isolation. So grand total of 8 and then -1 because I'm I'm attacking with the into the mountains. And he is set to a 1. He had nothing left to play. I got a 13. He rolled a 6. So he wasn't DD'd, so he was just retreated and he couldn't do anything. Then I came in with the 4th Guards Infantry. So it was 2, 3 because of isolation, 4 for the surprise attack marker, and I added 2 for the airplane. I added 2 for the tanks marker, took it off. I think I might have used this tanks marker twice. So this may be an invalid game. But anyway, he's eliminated. Okay. What do they do here? And then I moved him up to cut off the Ninth Army from being able to run down, because then I had this move where I could just race across to capture Frankfurt, made the airplane fly away. Just trying to figure out the best way to do this. And then I took Stuttgart, and that caused him to lose a bunch of will points. Then the armored came running down the rail line, had one movement point left, and went ahead and attacked. Starting off at +3 to +3, you'll see that I had moved the airplane up. So I went ahead and flew it into 6 sorties, so I had a +5 to a +3. Rolled a 6, got an 11. He rolled a 4. That caused him to flip, and he only had one legal retreat space, which was there. This was a mistake on the Russian part. They should have gone ahead and advanced, because the next attack move, I moved the airplane up, and then this guy coming down the rail ends up attacking from here anyway. So the armor should have been 1 up, because it would have been 1 hex closer to running into the west. So that was my bad, but and then I did my counts. So I was 1 for elite, 2 for isolation, and 2 for an airplane, and -1 because I'm going to a mountain, and he was only +1 because he's -2 for being flipped. So I had a chance here. All I need is a DR. I managed to roll only a 5, and he got his 6-1 split here, so he stopped me from being able to do anything. I moved this guard's army up to keep the British on the other side of the river. The first guard's down there. This guard's army kept them honest there. I think I was trying to figure out if I wanted to move the armored up there instead, and I decided in the end to keep the guards there, and I moved the armored down here. I couldn't quite get Stuttgart. It was only 10 movement points to there. I was hoping I had 1 more, and I miscounted. 3, 4, 5. So then I moved an infantry unit into Paris just to be or into Berlin to be safe. And I believe the last thing that I did is I moved that infantry unit behind the guards unit to prevent any breakout into the Balkans, or hopefully. Then I made sure that I had the will count right, because he lost 4 units in 4 cities. That means he was down by 12, so Western allies are now at 8 willpower left. And that sort of ends that part of it. My partisans come back in 5 turns. And then we go, nobody had a no supply issue. The West starts getting its stuff back. Give me back my airplanes. And because, like I said, I assumed that the West started off everybody in supply, so the first French was able to be flipped over. And the Soviets were able to get all their airplanes back up. Oh, I'm going back. And there's no diplomacy phase. We go to the end turn phase where Russians get their stuff back and the Allies get some stuff on their card. So now we will go down to... We get to here, and just to show you on the faction card, the Allies now have Partisans, Ultra, and an airdrop. Russians have 2 heavy artilleries and a partisan, besides their tanks markers. U.S. has a tanks marker, but doesn't help because the task force is gone. British have 2 tanks markers. So the BEF and the Western Desert Force can have some meat on their bones. There are 4 dead U.S. units. So, yuck. This is a terrible position for the Western Allies. I'm not sure how to even try and defend against this. I would think that the air power with the bombers being moved up to support should be able to slow him down, but I run into a big problem here. I'm going to go one more space, and it comes to the end of my log file. So this is the position at the end of the turn. I believe I missed a sortie when I was doing some of my damage control here, but I think I could have made up for it with this airplane here instead. So I think it would have come out the same way, except that he would have 1 extra sortie. So I would say he starts at 4, not 3. Either way, this is the quandary for the West, because now, you know, what do you do? There's a threat of things happening in the north, running into northern Italy. You can't let them do that, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 5 cities that are totally undefended. So you got to do something. So, you know, let's say they move here, which means you're probably not going to be able to do any real offensive stuff out of what is that? Just out of that hex. Now you could have the British maybe fall back to Venice, and then maybe have the 5th try to do something cute, or have the 5th fall back and have the British come up and try and do something cute. I'm not sure about that, but my thought was if I did this, move the 5th here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of these 2 units has to come in here, so he can get there for 6 movement points and be able to attack Stuttgart. But before I attack Stuttgart, I have to do something about letting him retreat to here. Because if the Russian can retreat to here, then he's just going to run into France. So what do we do about that? Maybe I don't move the Western Desert Force first, and I have the 9th try to do his attacks out of here. But if I do that, because he's got to fight his way out because of the zones of control of the Soviets on either side of him. But if I attack there before I do anything about sealing off this hex here, he could retreat to here. And just like retreat forward. You know, he just keeps retreating towards France. So that means I have to put either the BEF or the 2nd Armored has to come down here, like here or something. And then, you know, the U.S. Army could probably fight its way out and hold up the line here. And then this British Army would have to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That prevents him from retreating here, which lets the Western Desert Force come in here and have 1 attack to try and get him out of Stuttgart. I mean, you could have the first French army go here afterwards and then attack to get it. But I'm thinking, in order to free things up down here, I almost have to go and attack here against this guy to try and push him out, and then maybe take Munich. And in doing that, I'm going to have to use up my airplanes to knock out the Russians. The Brits can probably take out a couple of them, but the British are pretty much the entire front line here, so I have to kind of preserve their airplanes if possible. I could have the Americans, you know, take out these front 2 and have the British take out the back 2 or something like that. And then move the bomber up here to support all the defenses here for the Americans in the South. And then the Ninth has got to like attack here, and hopefully we force him to retreat, and then be something like this, which makes the 1st Canadian probably have to go here and attack, or maybe he just attacks out of here to push this guy back, and then moves down here to attack to hold the line. But you can see there's very little, there's no reserves, and it's a very hesitant line. So, not what I would consider a very auspicious situation for the. I'm doing all my what if moves there. I think that's about right. So, anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. I'm going to leave it up for at least a week before I try and figure out what I'm going to do. Give me your comments. I will be responding to comments on this one because it's such a debacle for the Western Allies. Got to remember that the Soviets have 2 heavy artilleries and a partisan, which means they can probably pull off a similar breakthrough that they did to start this. Maybe not quite as good, but if they're attacking something like, the BEF or a lone armored unit somewhere where they can force a breakthrough, especially if you're in, the only unit holding in a line, and if they can just get you to retreat with a flip, at like +7 to +5, and they get you to retreat, and then they use another attack somewhere, attack with another unit to force you to use your 2nd armored unit. Then from then on, you'll be +3s, which means their armor will match you. And all they're looking for is to retreat you a couple hexes. If they can force a couple of hex retreat and break a hole in, then they just have the Russian army pours in and starts capturing things like Bremen and Hamburg and Dusseldorf and Aachen. It becomes a nightmare. So, I don't know. I really don't know what to do with the West. Like I said, I'm going to leave this up. I'm Dren608. Like my videos, please subscribe. Leave me comments. I will definitely respond to some of the comments on this one. This will also be posted up on Board Game Geek. And for those of you that really want to, I can either send you the vlog or the saved game, and you can load it up and play it out and tell me what I need to do. Send me comments. If you want to get one of the files, you need to give me an email or a Dropbox or something, someplace where I can put it so that everybody can get to it. I don't think I'm allowed to load the file into Board Game Geek files section. But we'll find a way to get you either a vlog or the saved game, and then I'll let people play this out as well and see how things go. So, I'm Dren608. Until next time, I will see you later. Stay safe, everybody.